Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
I'm Joshua, and today we are reviewing Birds of Prey.
And the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn stars Margot Robbie. It's the newest film in the world of DCEU movies, and it sees the return of the character Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad, which we reviewed last week. So this is a completely new film. It sees Harley teaming up alongside a number of heroines from the DC universe to take down this criminal Black Mask played by Ewan McGregor.
I went into this thinking, alright, the trailers looked promising. But at the same time, I reserved myself because DC's had a habit of making trailers that look good and then not delivering. Classic examples being things like Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Justice League. And I fought in expecting that. Utter crap. And I was pleasantly surprised. Casting was great, simple but effective story, interesting portrayals by the cast for their characters. Granted, it wraps up, really fast, but it was actually an interesting film and one that I think is showing that DC's learning their lesson.
It's quite experimental in some ways compared to a lot of mainstream superhero movies. It's sort of told in a non-chronological way, and it sort of breaks the fourth wall in places. It's similar to Deadpool in some ways with its structure and its method of storytelling.
The first Deadpool, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it sort of takes it to extreme levels. Like with Deadpool, you kind of got an origin story in reverse, so you actually saw him in action as the character and then got his origin story sprinkled throughout the film, I should say. And with this one, it doesn't really do that because, the character of Harley is already established. And I think this film also does something interesting off the bat with an animated opening segment kind of covering backstory which was left out of.
It does also borrow an animation style that was used temporarily for Harley Quinn comics for a while.
Yeah, I noticed that. It wasn't quite the classic animated style.
No, not the dynamic, sharp edges that DC is known for.
Yeah, it was more like your sort of web series. And those, there's been so many Batman cartoons and Batman-themed cartoons, and it
reminded me a lot of an old DC property back in the early 2000s when Flash animation was being huge at the time. I don't remember the name of it, but it really reminded me of that, but it was a lot smoother.
Yeah, it was, I guess that's, the benefit of modern tech. But I think that was a really good opening because just in those opening 2 minutes, I think it really establishes who this character is, what their deal is. The deal is that she was a psychologist who was working on the criminal for Joker, and he manipulated her, she fell in love with him. She was arrested, became a criminal and all that. And the film begins with her breaking up with him. The Joker was played by Jared Leto. We've just had the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. This was Jared Leto, a metal-mouthed freak.
Freak's a good word.
Freak. Not in a good way.
No.
Not for the Joker, at least. And he's not in this movie at all.
No, though they did film some scenes with a Leto lookalike.
Yeah, with the stand-in, but it seems they completely cut him out. And
which is a good move.
Yeah, and the animated opening segment looks nothing like him.
No.
Yeah, this film, it's called Birds of Prey, but it's very much a Harley Quinn film. I joked last week it was Harley Quinn 2, and it is Harley Quinn 2 with Birds of Prey.
Harley is the narrator, so naturally, yes, it would be marketed like that. And that's what it was. It was marketed as a Harley Quinn film, but given the main title of Birds of Prey. And, well, I think that's a terrible move, and make the twist reveal when you actually see the film be, Harley's the narrator, so she will inevitably be the focus. She's surprisingly tied to a lot of this stuff, which I'll not go, all right.
Yeah, it's not like, she's gone and invaded their story.
No.
It's like all these characters' stories are intertwined, and it's just like the Birds of Prey comes up. The Birds of Prey is a female superhero crime fighting thing. It's Black Canary, Huntress, and Batgirl. You've got Huntress played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's not in the film a whole lot compared to some of the others.
No, but when she's in it, yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I've always liked her since 10 Cloverfield Lane and Fargo. She was really good in that, and she's really good in this. She really does something that's really different to what we've seen before, but I think it's true to the character.
It's more true to the character I remember from the old days.
At least on screen, at least, compared to other sort of heroes. Yeah. There is like a humour to it. This is a comedic film.
It is very much a comedic film, and you've got essentially three straight men. Using that term in more of the actual term, because most of the cast is female.
Yeah.
And Harley is your comedic center.
Yeah.
And they bounce off each other really well. They have wonderful moments, and the humor was actually quite a nice touch. Well, it's good, but DC hasn't had the best experience with humor.
Yeah, it's kind of been like
With its
flippant
movies.
one-liners, in the more serious films like, Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman.
It's usually trying to emulate, the quippiness that Marvel's become known for.
There was the Justice League movie, which had reshoots performed and had some quippy lines added to the character of the Flash, and those were sort of borderline cringy.
Yeah.
And with this, it's like there are a few things which almost get there, but they don't go all the way. It's like they're reined in enough, and it's sort of in context with the scene where it works, I think. Another prominent character in this is Renee Montoya. She's a police detective played by Rosie Perez, and Black Canary played by Joni Smollett-Bell.
The story itself is simple. It can be boiled down to a game of get the thing before the other people do, and then keep away.
It's very similar to Snatch in that way by
Yes.
Guy Ritchie as well as Rock and Roller. Kind of makes me want to see a Guy Ritchie directed superhero movie
It would
in
be
this
interesting.
vein. It is a simple story, but like I said, it is twisted in that way.
It's done
story.
interesting.
Basically, just there's a MacGuffin. It really is a MacGuffin at the
is
end
a
of the day.
MacGuffin.
It is just a diamond that they're after, but the diamond, its explicit function, which is mentioned, doesn't come into play.
It's what they want and what
Yeah.
it leads to. It does come into play later, but we don't see it, being used for its intended purpose.
Yeah, I did hear. Apparently, there was a rumor going around for a long time that the object of desire was actually a USB thumb drive with Black Mask's nudes on it. I don't know, this is a friend told me this. I don't know if it's real, because apparently there was something between the character of Black Mask and Zaz. Zaz is like this guy, this right-hand man for the criminal Black Mask. He's just his murderer who like carves into himself every time he kills someone.
Makes a tally mask every time he kills someone, and in the comics, he's pretty much a deranged serial killer with somewhat of a semi-tragic backstory. Here, he's just bananas.
When you speak about bananas, I mean, I guess what we can say is that this film does what Suicide Squad was, I guess, marketed as trying to do. Because I don't think that's what Suicide Squad was trying to do.
No.
It was changed and reshot and re-edited and all that. And it does that, and I think the character of Black Mask and Zaz both really fulfill a role that the Joker was trying to do, but better.
Which is odd, because I really enjoyed Ewan McGregor as the Black Mask. Granted, it's not the Black Mask I know of, but it was a wonderful, interesting portrayal, showing an early Black Mask trying to find his feet instead of being this established crime lord with the, don't fuck with me vibe type of deal, and he's right-hand man's, a loon that really should be in Arkham at that point, showing how much this guy is rubbed off on Sionis. I mean, you have a scene with, he's got Harley, he's got her tied to a chair in his club, the Black Mask Club, and he's just sitting in this really nice chair, all dressed up, with a small bowl of popcorn, and he's about to watch her face get cut off. That is interesting to me. That is a beautiful take I didn't see coming.
Yeah, Black Mask, I mean, we keep calling him Black Mask, but he's called Roman Sionis, that's the name they use for that thing. And he's known for just wearing this mask that's like carved from like the ebony wood of his parents' casket or something.
Like
I guess that's the comic book story, and it's a black
3D
skull
printed.
mask. Yeah, it's cool that he does wear it, and then it does look like that. I know various other portrayals have gone for a different direction, and it's always like, no, why don't you just use a skull mask? Why don't you make it look cooler than it?
It did look alright. It looked good.
It looked good. Doesn't wear it for a whole lot, but
No.
he does wear it for quite a bit. And there is, like, we do say it is a comedy, and there is moments of darkness and moments of violence in this film, which are quite shocking in a way, because this is rated higher than Joker, like, in terms of, themes and violence and such.
Absolutely. Like, what is it? We literally get to see a guy have his face cut off. Granted, we don't see it get cut off completely, but
You do see, like,
you just use the face. Just, no, get rid of it.
less gory than Deadpool, I'd say.
Yes.
Where character, like, gets cut in half, or,
Oh,
across those two films,
yeah,
gets cut in
but,
half,
we
his
do
arm gets cut off, and...
have the explodey scene at the end. Which,
Yeah.
Oh, that was the hugest disappointment. I genuinely almost walked out then.
Well, I mean, you only had 5 minutes left then at that point.
At that point, but then I would have missed,
Bit of a wrap-up.
the wrap-up, which, is a good part of any film.
I think, I mean, we're only a week out, so we'll go light on spoilers. But yeah, there is a bit of an ending, which is kind of like, oh, that's disappointing for the future. And it's something of a trend that these superhero films tend to do with their villains.
They cherry pick who they want, sometimes getting rid of who could be a potentially interesting villain later down the line,
Yeah.
and subbing in for something that might be subpar later on. A good example would be Killmonger in Black Panther was actually a very interesting villain in my opinion, only to have him die off at the end of the film, or Baron Zemo being a little bit more subpar, but somehow had a little bit of staying power. And then you've got people like Loki. it just wore thin in the end. But here, with DC, they seem to be having a habit of, right, Superman snapped the neck of General Zod. Crap. We've learned our lesson with that. We've brought him back as Doomsday. That's just terrible.
Yeah, and then Doomsday gets killed. And then, I mean, Lex Luthor is like sort of so weird that you don't want to see him, but they kind of tried to push him, but now he's gone, and Deathstroke is alluded to, various other villains.
They're trying to establish a bigger world, and they're rushing to it. Here, it genuinely feels like a more organic world is flowing.
Yeah, it does feel more fully realised. Like, I went back and watched some of the previous films in this series, and it's like, now I kind of get what this series is trying to do. I don't think that was the original intention, because they did so many rewrites, because their initial films didn't gel with audiences.
No.
But I think it does feel more realised. And it is a shame that they went and did that thing with that character. Well, both characters, really.
Very disappointed.
Yeah, especially since you've got...
It's probably the one unforgiving quality I will have with this film.
I think at least you've got a character like that, though. Because Black Mask, he's not one of your top-tier villains, really.
No,
he's sort of more...
he's also one of those more interwoven villains where you could easily,
bring him back,
or he's the background guy selling off the weapons to this dude who's actually the top dog and all that jazz, because that's what he did in the comics. He sold weapons, he dealt with chemicals and all that. He was a mafioso, and yes, his one defining feature was that his mask was melted and burnt into his face. But here it's an interesting portrayal. So the story sets him off as he's been cut off by his parents. So his parents are still alive. They're running Janus Corp. Originally was Sionis Industries. Here, he's being shown as this, right, I've been cut off. I got to set out on my own. And he's gelling with the wrong people in order to get what he wants. And it's said in the film, you're doing this just to get recognition, to make mommy and daddy proud of you.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. Like you said, he is really influenced by Zaz and all these other people around him.
He's trying to be on tier with people like Joker, and he's just coming off really short.
Another thing I want to discuss is like the aesthetic style of this film. It's really a slave to the film that came before it, which is Suicide Squad, which went with really interesting, almost gaudy, garish designs for some characters. Like the Joker was wearing like a sharkskin suit, and his hair was fluorescent green. And, I mean, Harley Quinn was dressed how she was.
Yeah.
And with this film, I mean, from everyone from like Huntress to Black Canary, it works for them.
It does.
But it does follow that similar design style. And even like Roman Sionis, who I guess is strong in my mind, is wearing like this completely white suit with
black
like this
shirt, black tie.
Yeah, beautiful like obsidian mask. And in this, he's just wearing all kinds of things, and he's like got little embellishes on his suits and all these fancy designs. There's even like a shirt that he wears, like a pajama shirt that's got like a graphic of his face on it.
Yeah,
and it's really funny that he's got these little Ewan McGregors over his shirt. But yeah, I think it does that a lot better, and it really does tie him stronger, like you said. In terms of themes, it does make it more of a visual thing as well, where there's a similarity to characters like the Joker and all the others that exist within this world.
That's one of the gripes I will have with Black Mask is let's just say it's the lair. His residential place above the Black Mask Club. And I get it. His name's Black Mask. His criminal name's Black Mask, and he's got masks everywhere and shrunken heads. I get it's playing into the he's not all there thing, but it's just...
Yeah, well, didn't Gotham do something like that as well? Like, they went and had him in like it was his father or something like that. They made him
Gotham,
Black Mask as well.
He was this Wall Street exec, and he wore this kabuki mask. And made all the interns fight each other. Yeah. In like a survival of the fittest thing.
I found that more disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah, that was very disappointing to me. I
think it's an interesting thing, and I think, I've read a few Black Mask comics, and, I'm maybe not completely consistent, especially with his attitudes, because there is, he does come across very woman-hating in this. That's sort of one of his main defining things, where he's specifically... Or maybe it's just, the fact that the characters are female.
I think it's more over, like, you can take it however you want. It's more Harley's trying to remember how many things she's done to Roman and hid behind the Joker.
That's one thing as well, is that I was kind of wondering if this was going to take a somewhat subjective approach in its storytelling, like tell the story from Harley's perspective and really depict this crazy world. There's a scene where Harley storms into a police station and she's shooting people left and right with like this beanbag gun. So there's paint bombs. Launcher, There's paint bombs going off and glitter and smoke, like coloured smoke. And I'm watching this and there's like blue and yellow being splattered up the walls, and I'm thinking, is this just in her head? Is she imagining all this like cartoony fun, and in reality she's just going around blowing people's heads off, and there's like blood-soaked tools everywhere. Are we going to cut to that? Because there is a scene earlier on when she goes and blows up the chemical plant, and there's all these like purple and green fireworks everywhere, and then the cops show up a few minutes later, and it's just fiery, and there's no explosions going, it's just fire. And I was sort of thinking then, okay, are we going to be seeing a slightly more fantastical side? Is this then, Harley Quinn's
psychosis?
Yeah, is this her psychosis? Is this her view of how Sionis and all these other characters are acting? But it never really goes that way, and I think it would have been a really...
It alludes, but at the same time...
It's kind of this crazy world. Like, I mean, it's not so much open for interpretations very much as it is. It does sort of create this world where it is, like I said, fantastical, and where stuff like that happens. Because I mean, there's then like these other gangsters who then storm the police station and have a shootout in the police station. The police aren't involved at all. I'm just like, I know this is Gotham, and it's like this crime-ridden hellhole, but that's just okay. That's the world we live in, where that sort of thing happens. Sort of like I said, it is at odds, but it works, and I think it's better to have a world like this as opposed to the grimdark world of Man of Steel.
And this film really has two stories running, because you've got Harley's story, which is, the lighter, and there's some downright depressing moments, especially before she, gets a purpose with the MacGuffin holder, Cassandra Cain, which I didn't look up her actress, but who did really fantastic.
Yeah, that character Cassandra Cain, I mean, she's from the comic books. She was known as Batgirl. She's like this mute
Black Bat
girl. I think was trained by like ninjas or something, or her father was a crime boss or a ninja. There you go. And in this, she's just, I mean, there's sort of a hint of that. She's a foster kid and she's a pickpocket. But she's not really Cassandra Cain. It would be like saying, oh, this is Sherlock Holmes and he's like a one-armed, drummer in a band who, I don't know, knits hats. She's as like Cassandra Cain as that would be for Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
But she works.
Young, and it's good.
She works, yeah. I was actually thinking you could have had like Carrie Kelly, who was another character who sort of fits that mold, I think, a lot stronger. But,
hey, go do
she
it.
Works for this, and she's really good, and she could change for future.
You've got... I mean, all the different actresses drive it forward. I mean, Margot Robbie, yes, she kills it as Harley Quinn, but it's the Birds of Prey. That's what I was most interested in seeing, because this is a group I know a bit more about. I mean, Harley's plastered everywhere. She's the poster girl for DC, much like Batman is, or Superman is.
Oh, yeah, she really is, because, I mean, Superman is Geralt of Rivia, and...
I mean, yeah, we've seen the grizzled cop thing, and they actually, pointed out, she's like every hardcore 80s cop out. I'm like, okay, you've pointed it out. Do something with it. And
I mean, that was mentioned, and I guess she says a few things here and there where it is pointed out, but it's not like everything... Oh, yeah, I guess that is, actually. Because she's gone and got, like, the boss, the detective who takes her off the case, and he's, like, the angry sort of black detective, which is a trope from, like, that's also lampshaded in films like Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, it is.
So now you said that, I'm like, okay, now that's something stronger there. That makes sense to me.
Well, Joya, she was a box ticker originally for me. She was Latino, she was a lesbian, and she drank. A lot.
Yeah.
And then she was bequeathed this title of the superhero later down the track, and is like, okay, what the hell do I do now? And all that. And playing the older, more veteran, if this does get a spin-off and it's just Birds of Prey, it'll be interesting to watch her use those hard-crafted detective skills.
I appreciated her being an older lady as well. I mean, Rosie Perez, she's, 50-something, 40-something.
And kicking ass.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really interesting to see that. And I think, Black Canary was surprisingly, strong in this.
Nice new take. Out of all the live-action Black Canaries I've seen, this is the one that I think is sticking, because it's not, okay, she's a daughter of a cop, or, this and that. It's a down-on-her-luck girl whose mother might have been a crime fighter. It's mentioned that
this
she did
is
help
such
the
a
police.
long-going world. I mean, it's constantly established in previous films. Batman's been around for 2 decades, so that's so many stories which we're missing out on.
That's what I like about it, is because it doesn't give us the full picture, but it shows that the world continues on, even while we're watching this one film. And then you've got Huntress, one of my top 2 favorite performances. Her and Ewan McGregor. Kill it as these characters. It's beautiful.
Well, yeah, I mean, I might have said earlier, but Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, in Suicide Squad, there was a few scenes where her Brooklyn accent slipped and she comes through very Australian. In this, I think she transforms into Harley Quinn as much as Joaquin Phoenix does the Joker, and even Heath Ledger does the Joker. But I look at her and I go, that's Harley Quinn. I don't see Margot Robbie at all. Its accent is flawless, actions and
she has a lovely character. Yeah, there's a few eye roll moments, like the sandwich. And then the going down the list of, okay, who have I wronged and all that jazz.
Yeah. I guess it's Harley's personality. It's a character. It's, and it's true to the character in a way. It's not like you've then gone and got Batman walking around with a squeaky voice. It's not as that. It's consistent with that character. I think it's more like in that thing. I mean, she's hungover. She's just broken up with her boyfriend.
One of the good things I love about this is, yes, it's the breakup, but it's the self-destructive path that follows after, because she doesn't really tell anyone.
No.
And if she does, she says, yeah, they don't believe me, because, well, that's classic Harley from the comics. She always goes running back. Maybe not nowadays, but...
Yeah, I mean, Harley Quinn always started off as this, like, the girlfriend of the Joker.
She was girl. Quoted by Paul Dini when he first made it. She was just meant to be a one-shot character.
But she endured and stuck in people's minds and was developed into this greater character. And in the last decade or so, she's really grown.
She's exploded.
Oh, countless comic books here. I think with this, Margot, she reminds me of Marissa Tomei in My Cousin Vinny, like with the accent and all that. It's and she won an Oscar for that.
Well, I mean, it's a good performance, and like you said, she disappears into it.
Yeah,
and that's the selling point for me, was the performances.
This film is largely comedic in tone, but there is a balance it has between light and dark themes. There is a character, like you said, who gets their face cut off. And it's not explicit, it's not like uber levels of gore, but you do see like the flappy, skin neck. You have other scenes where, I guess, characters, do get blown up, or their faces get smashed in. Or
an arrow to the throat.
Arrows to the throat. Crossbow bolts, I should say, maybe. Yeah. It's not a bow and arrow, it's a crossbow.
For a moment.
She's a great character, that Huntress.
It's funny because I've only seen the actress who played Huntress in one other thing, and that was Scott Pilgrim, another comic book film.
It's funny, that came out 10 years ago. Apparently people have been fan casting her as Huntress for the last 10 years. And yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
and then she's
really
actually asking for a second 10-year later Scott Pilgrim film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. That'd be cool.
That.
Really strong across the board. There's no one else that you're like, oh...
I mean, there was a few moments of Zaz, but then I remember, well, Zaz is just crazy.
Yeah.
And they play him off as the paranoid second in command, and they definitely allude to that he wants a stronger connection with Roman. And
I said there was a theory, apparently, that he and Roman were intimate. And there is a closeness to them. Like, I mean, they're literally standing inches away from each other's face and talking quite passionately about killing someone, sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's romantic for two psychopathic murderers, I guess.
I mean, whatever floats your boat and what gets you there, but...
Yeah. The character of Huntress, she's introduced quite late, and I kind of felt like, this is going to be like a katana.
Establish her origin without establishing her origin.
Yeah, we do get...
a very interesting touch for me.
Do get allusions and, like, flashbacks throughout, and then you do get a more explicit one when she's introduced. And I was like, this is going to be like I said, this does what Suicide Squad tried to do, but better, because there's similarities to the character of Katana from Suicide Squad, who is just like, boom, there's this character. She, her sword traps the soul of its victims, and it's just like, okay,
cool, show, don't tell.
Yeah, we don't know or have any interest in her, unfortunately, but with Huntress, there is a much stronger connection there. And when she does show up and get involved, and
he gets more involved, I should say.
The finale of this is really interesting, I think, for a comic book film as well. Like the final battle.
It's a beautiful set.
All the fighting throughout this is amazing. It's like, I think it's the most excited I've been by like comic book fighting in a long time. Because I mean, usually it's just like, lasers or lightning bolts or punches and that. And this is like sort of normal people.
It's grounded, but not grounded because they're in a fun house.
Yeah.
and they're using Harley's old gear. Even a corset that's a bulletproof vest. That was a very interesting choice.
It was a fun little nod that this is rated MA, like I said, so you can't take your kids to see it. It's probably why it's not making as much money as it should.
Oh, I had two people behind me complaining the entire way through to the preview. It's like, oh my god, the rating system sucks, I could go see a movie and yet my 16-year-old friends can't come in and watch it with me. It's MA 15 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're getting carded to see a movie, then clearly they don't think you're old enough or mature enough to see the film. It's like with the parents and Bloody Deadpool.
It's not traumatizing.
No, it's
violence.
Not
it's not
but
like...
at the same time, a lot of these people aren't going to know. Some of them aren't going to know the realities of the difference. Like my sister, she's almost 15 and she's getting heavily into horror. I think that's cool, but I'm not about to dump and ditch her at some horror film at the theater like some parents are doing with their kids.
Yeah. You take her to see this, would you? Or
I would definitely take my sister to see this.
I think this is I think take your kids to see this, provided they're old enough. It is like
we don't
adult
condone.
Supervision. Yeah, adult supervision, because I think this is. I think it would be easier to stomach, more so than Joker, and perhaps more so than Deadpool. I'd say in some regards.
I think the humor is done a little bit better here than in Deadpool.
Oh yeah, I preferred this to Deadpool.
The humor here lands.
Suicide Squad gave Harley Quinn a lot of fans.
Yeah.
And I think this will really give those fans who saw something in that, it gives them something to really sink their teeth into. And all the other characters as well, really strong. Like, I'm interested in looking into these other characters, which I kind of knew a bit, but looking into them a bit more because of this film. Before we wrap up, we're going to look into the previous films in this DC movie series, sort of give our ratings out of 10, and see how this slots in. So starting off with Man of Steel, this was the Superman origin story, sort of grimdark. Where do you rank that?
6.5.
I'd give it a 7. I think, it is a solid film.
It's the killing of Zod that drags us down for me, and, really hope that the Boy Scout would be the Boy Scout by the end of it.
Dawn of Justice, Batman versus Superman.
If it's a theatrical, then that's a solid 4.
Yeah, I was going to be a little bit more generous and give it a 5. It's too muddled, too complicated.
It's extra 30 minutes that you need to watch for it to go up.
Yeah, I think as well that they could have come up with a story that didn't need those additional 30 minutes. They could have kept it to a much tighter story without all that.
30 minutes were actually very integral.
It's a shame that. Suicide Squad.
That's a 3.
Have to give it a 3 or maybe a 2. It's a jumbled mess that's made up of 2 differing visions that just don't gel together.
It's a good film made terribly.
I think the elements were there, but it was just muddled. Wonder Woman.
That is a 8.
I'd have to give that either an 8, maybe closer to a 7, but it's an 8. Set during World War One. It's the origin story of Wonder Woman.
And it's beautifully directed.
Set
up. It's good. Again, the cast is good here.
Really good cast. Quite emotional. I think it's just the ending with the villain is a bit like, standard formulaic, especially compared to what came before.
Yes.
Justice League.
That is a 5.
Yeah, I have to give that a 5 as well. It's, again, 2 differing visions, Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon. It's just muddled, I think, as well. It is very muddled.
They could have put that off a couple of years.
Aquaman.
I'm going to give Aquaman a 7.
Yeah, I have to give it a 7 as well. Again, sort of an origin story for this Aquaman character.
It's a continuation of, we never got his art. It was the origin, but a continuation.
I think it really gelled well, and I think it's much brighter in tone and visuals as well. Shazam.
That is a 9.
I'd have to give that an 8. It's sort of like big, but superhero.
That is the point. It's the point of Captain Marvel. It is big, but with superpowers.
It's
beautiful, good, and I am so glad that they nailed it.
And Birds of Prey. I think I'd give it maybe a 9, closer to an 8, but it's a 9 up there for me.
I'll get an 8.5.
I think it's strong. I think it's consistent. Besides one scene. And of course there is some disappointment that lets it down a little, and the fact it's somewhat false advertising. But you go in knowing it's a Harley Quinn movie with the Birds of Prey, not Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn. And I think it's a really good time.
It is an enjoyable film. This is definitely a film, much like Shazam, much like Wonder Woman. I will go back and watch again.
Oh, for sure. I'm actually thinking I might go rewatch it, to be honest. Which I never do.
I think definitely while it's on the big screen, the way that DC's been going, it gives me hope for Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Really looking forward to that one now. And whatever they decide to do with these characters in future.
The world is open.
Anyway, this has been the Geeks Review. Birds of Prey is in cinemas now. Go give it a watch if it sounds interesting. Remember, it is MA15. You can take your kids to it, provided they're maybe 12 and up and mature enough to handle stuff like that. No overt sex scenes, I will say. Bit of swearing. Bit of face smashing. Bit of face slicing. A lot of leg breaking.
Sometimes you just gotta cap them.
I'm Royce.
I'm Joshua.
And we'll see you next time.